What it is. Whoa. I can really hear myself. It must be loud. What it is, everybody. Welcome back. What a weekend. Holy crap. We killed somebody again. We killed somebody else in Minnesota. We Americans, we with the American government, did something really bad this weekend, it looks like. And now Trump is backing down. So he recognizes that something bad happened. So, at risk of losing, well, I have to take a position on this one. This one was pretty bad. So hopefully you guys made it through the weekend okay. Hopefully you feel secure and happy being an American. We had a shooting this weekend on Saturday, the execution of an American citizen in broad daylight in Minnesota. And then the government came in and gaslit us tremendously afterwards, immediately lied to our faces, both on social media and in public appearances. And then they decided that we no longer have a First Amendment or Second Amendment, apparently, pissing off a bunch of people, including the NRA, including Gun Owners of America, including the Libertarian Party, who now actually wants to abolish ICE. So Trump is backing down. He's tacoing on Minnesota. He's even talking to Mayor Fry. I heard it was Fry. Frey. He's talking to both the Governor Walz, Tampon Tim, and Mayor Fry. And he says that he likes them both. Now, he is trying to calm the situation down. So actually, Trump is good and bad. He's got some really bad people around him. It might be the end of, I have a rumor at least that Bovino is gone, who said, along with the rest of the government, that this Pretti was trying to massacre, who showed up to massacre law enforcement, and then made a series of bad interviews on TV. I have all that for you. He might actually be out as controlling this operation, and instead they're going to have Homan go into Minnesota. So there's a change in direction. Apparently at the direction of Donald Trump. I don't have any of my nicotine with me. Okay, that's okay. I can grab it when I pay my intro. But I was going to come on Saturday. It was very upsetting to me. Very upsetting to me. And then particularly upsetting to see the reaction to it, and all the people trying to justify killing somebody for recording people, and then trying to protect somebody and happening to have a firearm on him, which was taken away from him before he was executed on the street. And still lots of people like, I don't listen to Nick Fuentes much anymore. He's like, oh, we have to have state violence to get rid of illegals. Somehow Obama got rid of tons of people and didn't have any of this happen. And yes, maybe it was because of people didn't want to protest because he was Obama, but maybe it's because he was actually competent. We have lunatics around the president, including Stephen Miller. My goodness. I could do without that guy. I could certainly do without Bovino. I could certainly do without Kristi Noem. So those people might, I think Stephen Miller and his insane cunt of a wife, Katie Miller, sorry about that, might still be involved with the administration, but maybe Noem and Bovino are going out. We'll see. But lots of crazy people around Donald Trump who've been encouraging him in his descent into madness. It seems like maybe he's come back from the brink a little bit and is trying to lower the temperature a little bit by making friends now with the people in Minnesota, the people that he supposedly hated. So anyway, big weekend in Minneapolis, lots of rights of American citizens being intruded on left and right. See a lot of different memes about it. Don't tread on me, for example, becoming tread on me daddy. But lots of people justifying it. Lots of people like Matt over at the Daily Wire getting in fights with Dave Smith, who is against the violations of rights of American citizens, because it's not really about illegals. It's what they're doing to Americans that's so upsetting. So Spidey Sense says, report on the Signal app. That's what domestic terrorists are using to harass ICE agents. You like to use that domestic terrorist language too. Well, we could look into that. They're saying that the people are paid, and that I think that they keep claiming that everybody is paid to be there, but you don't need to be paid to be there when the government is violating people's rights left and right. Seems like it's upsetting enough when they're killing people that you might want to get out in the street and protest. And yes, they are organized. Yes, they're organized. And yes, they're annoying. They whistle and they record, but that's not illegal. Will defend people's right to protest and their right to carry guns. And I'm just going to continue doing that, whether I agree with them politically or not, because that's America. You have the right to protest. You have the right to carry guns. You have the right to film the government. And if the government does something wrong, you have a right to try to capture it on camera. So those are all things that you're allowed to do in this country. So I believe in America. I believe in the Constitution. And I believe the First and Second Amendment are pretty important. And the First Amendment includes the right to protest. Yeah, you shouldn't impede, but this guy wasn't impeding. Theoretically, you shouldn't resist arrest, but when you're just being assaulted, I'm not sure what you're exactly supposed to do. I'm not even sure they were trying to arrest him. It was just simply an assault and an execution. So that's what happened in Minneapolis this weekend. Looks like Trump is trying to settle things down, though. So once again, I voted for Trump. I think we should deport certainly criminal illegals. And I don't mind deporting other illegals as long as it's done in a way that's consistent with the United States Constitution. But don't lie about it. Don't lie and say you're deporting the worst of the worst when you're just asking people on the street for their papers or incarcerating people who are actually here legally, but you just don't like the way they came in. So, or just stopping people and asking for papers because they have an accent or they look funny, etc. So Spidey Sense, he wasn't lawfully carrying. Well, okay, but they didn't know he didn't have ID when they killed him. So you hope I report on the hotel? I can report on the hotel. I mean, I can report on the hotel. I can just understand why people are upset. That's all. It's very upsetting to see people violate people's rights over and over again, but I can understand. Yeah, there are protesters doing bad things. There are protesters going after them in hotels and stuff. That's true. There is, I could pull up the video of that. I did report on it when they were doing bad things. I did report on that before. They destroyed cars and took ammunition and stuff, and that's bad. And I reported on the church thing, which was bad, although probably actually not illegal. The church thing was bad, but probably not illegal. You're not allowed to block people from going into and out of churches, but if the door is open, I guess you're allowed to go in. It was stupid and reflects badly on them. So it was a mistake for them to do it, but probably not illegal. Probably not. The government is being wielded against its political enemies right now. And in many cases, the government is protecting people who might be doing bad things, like in the case of the Renee Good shooting, which is still not being investigated at the direction of the government. like this case now is apparently being investigated at the direction of the government, which is good. So anyway, so there's that. So I'm just going to show you the lies that were told by the government about the shooting right away by Kristi Noem, by Stephen Miller, by Greg Bovino, and then the attacks on the Second Amendment by Scott Bessent, by Kash Patel, by Kristi Noem again. So I'll make sure to show you all of that so you can see, which is spectacularly backfiring on the government. It's not good when they lie to you. So that's what I'm going to show you today. There were some big news. I mean, there was a crazy move. I have been talking about gold and silver and the end of the world. The end of the world movement in silver today was insane. It went up like 17%, 15, 16, 17%, and then came all the way back down. So it went up as much as you could. It could theoretically possibly go up and then came all the way back. So silver went to 118 or something today and then came all the way back to where it is now, which is, I think, 103. Gold just did a little trip back and forth, but it shows the volatility in the markets. And some people are having trouble selling silver. So I'll make sure to talk about that too, so you can know what to do with your investments and stuff. But gold is at $5,000 right now. So anyway, I will get to your comments too. Let's play our intro. Oh, Kanye West apologized today and talked about his bipolar disorder. So I might talk about that a little bit. And we will also talk about maybe the coming destruction of America and how we might actually get into the Civil War part that Tim Pool has been warning about. This is something that happens to empires repeatedly over history, the cycle we're in now. So I'll talk about that a little bit too. So anyway, get ready for the show now. Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. And I bring you the news, the real news. Yes, something like the real news, but with a little bit of opinion. And yes, I might lose followers. That's fine. I'm already used to it for this fight. If you don't stand up for something, I mean, I was really upset actually on Saturday. It was just very upsetting to see someone doing something that I would do, which is record things at a protest. I've been at a protest before, very close to police, filming them right in their freaking faces. And nothing happened to me because most police are pretty well trained and I pretty much support the police. I never got involved in the George Floyd thing because actually I thought that I thought that he really could have checked in on George Floyd's well-being a little bit better. And I'm skeptical that he died just because of a drug overdose, although I'm sure that contributed. But I never actually got involved with the George Floyd thing because actually I don't like police violence. And actually I'm skeptical of the government in general. And in general, I think you can tell police to fuck off and not have them kill you. So, and I am one of those people who can put myself in other people's shoes and think, oh, that could have been me. Because when I was younger, and didn't respect authority, I would mouth off to police all the time, and I was lucky enough just to get away with it. I have always been skeptical of authority, and I understand people who are skeptical of authority. And I was, a Democrat most of my life, so and I still consider myself classically liberal, which Katie Miller says means woke. Somebody wanted me to report on the bad things the protesters are doing. For the most part, I haven't seen the protests haven't devolved into like mob violence for the most part. Sometimes late at night it does, but sometimes late at night it does. And they are going after the ICE agents in hotels and stuff. And in the fact that they are breaking the law to do those things, I think that's wrong. So I'll show you what someone said for me to show you, which is the hotel situation. They are going after ICE agents in hotels. They destroyed a lobby of a couple hotels, and this is some video of them. I guess they spray painted ICE out. They broke some windows of a hotel where they thought ICE agents were staying. I think they were staying there. Let's see if this video is good. And then he's, what, is he bleeding? I'm not sure.
Like this officer.
This is. I think they shot somebody's finger off too recently, but he's bleeding.
You understand? Are you pressed? Are you pressed?
Is only press allowed to be on the street?
Are you pressed?
I'm documenting. Like,
then back up. Back up now. Back up.
So this was the scene at the hotel. Let's see what this is.
We're overnight. We're all members of the press. We're all press here.
Yeah, everybody's press actually. And then they do spend a lot of time pointing weapons at people too, which they're not allowed to do. Speaking of brandishing. So anyway, that was the scene at the hotel, which is bad. They call them violent anarchists. It wasn't ICE that killed this guy. I'm not going to show you video of it. I have it all saved if I needed to show it to you, but I'm sure you've all seen it. I had it all saved. I was going to show it to you on Saturday and go over the shooting, but by now you've seen what happened. 6 says FAFO. No, I don't accept that. You don't just kill people for protesting. That's not he wasn't fucking around. If he was fucking around, no, I don't accept that. That's a popular point of view because people are sadistic and like seeing their political enemies killed. And if that's you, then you're an asshole, basically. If you think it's a life and death struggle between us and Democrats, or you and Democrats, go somewhere and fight in a war or something, if that's what you want to do. But no, we are legally allowed to film law enforcement and carry a gun without being executed. He didn't fuck around. They fucked around. So he was out on the street with his camera and not interfering, not even like Renee Good, who was interfering, but still didn't deserve to die. But this guy didn't fuck around. They fucked around. They're lucky they don't find out, to be honest. If the government fucks around, eventually the government finds out. That's the way it's supposed to be, I think. So anyway, that was the hotel situation. There's also a chat group. There's a Signal group that, let's see, Signal, since we want to cover both sides. There's a Signal group that Cam Higbee says was targeting ICE and threatening them. So I'm not sure what the situation is with that. There is, they say they're coordinating ICE riots. Here's Cam Higbee. Signal Gate, they're doxing people from the Signal group. Now, these people, the protesters, are organized. That's true. They are organized. And in some cases, they are impeding. But I haven't seen that many. I haven't actually, more of what I've seen is people who are following ICE or recording ICE being harassed by ICE. I haven't seen the impeding as much. Maybe I'm in the wrong algorithm. But the honking, the whistling, that's legal. The following, that's legal. The recording, that's legal. All of those things are illegal. Breaking stuff, not legal. Breaking into cars, not legal. But following, honking, whistling, recording, annoying, legal. First Amendment. So here's what Homeland Security said right away after it happened. The suspect had 2 magazines. So here's what they said. This was a statement from Homeland Security immediately. There was a targeted operation against an illegal alien wanted for violent assault, which actually Minnesota denies that the guy actually was wanted for violent assault. The officers attempted to disarm the suspect, but the armed suspect violently resisted, which he didn't. More details on the armed struggle are forthcoming. Fearing for his life and the lives of and safety of fellow officers, an agent fired defensive shots. They actually shot him in the back after disarming him. Medics on scene immediately delivered medical aid to the subject, but was pronounced dead on the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines and no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. That's what they said. Before people had seen the video, they were trying to set a narrative that this person was actually an assassin. Let me show you that tweet. So anyway, that was what the Department of Homeland Security said. That was backed up by Greg Bovino and Kristi Noem, who said exactly the same thing. They actually had a statement prepared. And now it's just not clear who's directing the narratives that are coming out of the people around Trump, because Trump was careful not to say any of these things or defend the officers or to disparage the victim in this case. He was careful not to do any of these things, but somebody directed the narrative coming out of the government from Kristi Noem, Greg Bovino, and then Stephen Miller, who may have just been operating on his own. But here was Greg Bovino saying exactly the same thing, which Kristi Noem said exactly the same thing. Which is what has backfired spectacularly, because people just don't like being lied to by our government. Oh, there's no sound. There's no sound. Hold on. Let me fix that. No sound. So then we want to stop screen and start screen. Here we go.
During this operation, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun.
He did not.
The agents attempted to disarm the individual, but he violently resisted.
Didn't do that.
Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots.
Not defensive.
Medics on the scene immediately delivered medical aid to the subject, but the subject was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 loaded magazines and no accessible ID. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. During this operation, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun.
They say he approached. So this was the narrative. He approached them with a 9mm handgun. First of all, he was actually walking away from them when he was assaulted and bear sprayed. He was carrying legally a handgun, legally, except for the fact that he apparently didn't have ID on him. But most of the time, most conservatives would agree that the Second Amendment should protect you in all cases, even if you were so-called illegally, even if they somehow knew that he didn't have ID. If you have a firearm, that's not a death sentence, even if you're carrying it illegally, which maybe he was, because maybe he was technically, I should say, if he indeed did not have identification on him. But he did not seem that there is no evidence that he was there to massacre law enforcement, and he did not reach for or brandish his gun, which they lied and said he did. Christy Nome said he did brandish it. Stephen Miller tweeted, a domestic terrorist tried to assassinate federal law enforcement. And this is your response. That's what he said. A domestic terrorist tried to assassinate federal law enforcement. So that wasn't true at all. And Stephen Miller is an unhinged lunatic. Here is Christy Nome saying he was a domestic terrorist.
When you perpetuate violence against a government because of ideological reasons and for reasons to resist and perpetuate violence, that is the definition of domestic terrorism. This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts. When you perpetuate...
So that was her saying that. And I'm sorry, Prague, if you've heard this from a number of other people, because it's true. I didn't work this weekend, so I'm back Monday covering it. And I may have the same talking points as a few other people. So I apologize. I just haven't been on the air. I would have come on Saturday, but this is my first day back. So here is Scott Bessent claiming that it's because he brought a gun.
Before you go, I know this is not your lane, but I got to ask you about what's happened in Minneapolis. As a member of the Trump cabinet, are you concerned to see another American citizen ends up dead, shot by federal law enforcement?
Jonathan, it's a tragedy when anyone dies, but I can tell you the situation on the ground there is being stirred up by Governor Walz. I was out there 2 weeks ago. Governor Walz declined to provide a security detail for me to go into the Minnesota Capitol with the state police. So he is fomenting chaos because there is substantial waste, fraud, and abuse. My job as Treasury Secretary is to investigate that. And I think that this chaos that's going out there, and again, I am sorry that this gentleman is dead, but he did bring a 9mm semi-automatic weapon with
Ooh.
2 cartridges to what was supposed to be a peaceful protest. I think that there are a lot of paid agitators who are ginning things up, and the governor has not done a good job at tamping this down.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, he was an ICU nurse, worked for the Veterans Administration, and there's no evidence that he brandished the gun whatsoever. In fact, it appears
But
that
he brought
was
a
disarmed
gun.
before
He brought a gun. Have you ever gone to a protest,
I
Jonathan?
mean, we do have a Second Amendment in this country that,
Jonathan, have you ever gone to a protest?
I mean,
Have you gone to a protest?
I mean, no, actually, as a reporter covering it.
Okay, I've been to a protest.
Yeah.
Guess what? I didn't bring a gun. I brought a billboard.
Okay, Secretary Bessent.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're gay also. So there's that. Lots of people bring gun. You're allowed to bring a gun. You're allowed to practice the First and Second Amendment at the same time. That's all. So this is what the administration said. I don't know where they got their talking points, but that was the talking point, was because he brought a gun that shows bad intent, which actually it doesn't. That's all. Just being armed is okay. And they are actually saying that being armed and practicing the First Amendment at the same time is a sign of bad intent, which it isn't. Even carrying it in your hands, even having a big semi-automatic rifle, and they even use the language of the left, saying it's semi-automatic and that he had extra rounds and so forth. Bob Street, I don't know what happened to you during your absence, but I've gone full globalist. What's a globalist? Isn't that the government telling you what to do? Isn't that them taking your arms away? What do the globalists want to do? Disarm you and kill you and then call you a terrorist. Who's acting like a globalist? Like, what am I actually against? Authoritarian government? Don't globalists want to disarm you and tell you you can't carry firearms? What are you actually? Full globalist. Give me a break. Donald Trump wants to take over the globe and take away people's arms with his peace council. That's their stated goal in Gaza, is to disarm people and be the only authority with arms. That's Donald Trump's board of peace and their stated goals. One law, one authority. So, not sure what you mean by globalist. A globalist because I don't support the government infringing on our God-given rights. Interesting characterization. It's okay. You wouldn't support it if it was the Democrats. That's all. Just realize that if it was somebody from your side who got killed by an authoritarian government, you would actually be upset. So would I. I criticize the government usually when they're wrong. So here's Kash Patel saying the same thing.
What can you tell us?
Great to be with you, Maria. And look, Secretary Noem stated it perfectly. You do not get to attack law enforcement officials in this country without any repercussions. You do not get to do that in Minnesota, LA, or anywhere else. And the interagency is leading the charge out there. We've already arrested with the interagency those that violated the FACE Act and impeded a peaceful prayer in church. We've already just last night arrested 4 more individuals.
I have it as loud as it can go.
Damage of government property.
I have it as loud as it can go. Is there something wrong with the mixing? Sorry if there's something wrong with the remix. I have no ability actually to adjust. It might be that I'm too loud. Maybe I'm too loud. Sorry about that. I can turn down myself if that helps. Could be my volume knob got tweaked during travel.
That we saw the videos of online. We've arrested other individuals who've made threats to law enforcement online. So we are not messing around. It doesn't have to be in person. If you threaten law enforcement officials or civilians, we are going to come find you. And as for this latest shooting, yes, DHS and HSI are the lead, and the FBI is processing the physical evidence. So we're in possession of the firearm, which is going to go to our laboratory. But as Secretary Noem said, no one who wants to be peaceful shows up at a protest with a firearm that is loaded with 2 full magazines. That is not a peaceful protest, and you do not get to touch law enforcement. You do that anywhere, this FBI is going to be leading the charge to arrest those.
But how was he threatening Border Patrol? You've collected the evidence, you said, right? You have the handgun in your possession?
That's right.
That's right,
And
he
how
says.
was he using that handgun in terms of threatening Border Patrol? What was the threat? He had his camera, right? He was filming it.
That's something that I will let the DHS and the prosecutors, because they are the ones investigating that case. I don't want to stylize that evidence, but I trust the men and women on the ground who are trained professionals to only use it when it's absolutely necessary. And I trust Secretary Noem's leadership and DHS.
There you go. So I don't know if it's right for him to say trust Secretary Noem's leadership. It's interesting. Bartiromo even pushes back. A lot of people on Fox News are pushing back. A lot of Republicans are pushing back. They've called ICE and DHS to testify. Basically, somebody around Trump convinced him to sideline Homan, who is the more sensible one, and put this guy Bovino in charge, who is mostly Border Patrol, because Border Patrol is the more violent and is kind of the more violent group, it seems like. That's what I've heard. So that Border Patrol was sent out there because they like the videos of people getting assaulted and stuff, because they want to show, because they like the performative cruelty to show people that they're actually doing something. So Border Patrol was put out there, and this wasn't ICE, this was Border Patrol that was put in charge, and Kristi Noem, and Homan was sidelined. Now Donald Trump says Homan is going in, and he's going to be in control, and he's going to report directly to Donald Trump rather than to Kristi Noem. So that's what Trump is doing. They sent these people to Minneapolis to punish Minnesota because of fraud, rather than actually looking into the fraud. One of the lawyers that was looking into the fraud got fired because he wanted to look into the shooting of Renee Good. One of the lead guys looking into the fraud wanted to look into the civil rights for Renee Good and was fired. So what they did is they sent in an armada of ICE and DHS officers to Minneapolis to punish Minnesota. They sent in 3,000 people. There aren't that many illegal immigrants in Minnesota. There are actually very few. And the Somalis are mostly legal. But they sent them in there to try to coerce them to do other things, because they sent a strongly worded letter that actually they would leave if Minnesota would turn over their voter rolls. That was a strongly worded letter sent by Pam Bondi to Minnesota, saying if they turned over their voter rolls, then maybe ICE and DHS and Border Patrol would leave. So it was some kind of coercive measure. They keep saying they're mad about the fraud, but this enforcement, if you want to call it that, doesn't have to do with the fraud, but it seems to be some kind of punishment to Minnesota because he doesn't like Walz, because he ran against him. Trump, that is, doesn't like Tim Walz, doesn't like the fraud, and it's good. They should go after the fraud. But unfortunately, most of the Somalis are here legally. The 5-year-old that got detained, his father was here legally, and Trump just didn't like the way he was here legally. And the guy that was taken out of his house in his underwear, that guy's here legally. Apparently he's an American citizen, or at least a legal immigrant. So it seems to be punitive in nature. And Trump has said he doesn't really want to get rid of illegal immigrants. Also, it can be done different ways. Getting rid of illegal immigrants, you could go after employers, but Trump doesn't want to do that because he doesn't want to hurt the hotel industry or the agriculture industry. And he said that in his year anniversary speech. He said, I don't want to hurt agriculture or hotels or luncheonettes, I think he said, which I guess is diners. Some kind of old-fashioned way to say diners. He specifically said he doesn't want to hurt those businesses. And there haven't been that many people deported. They claim a bunch of people have self-deported, which might be true. But there are lots of ways to do it without infringing on people's Fourth Amendment rights by stopping them and asking for ID. They claim it's targeted, but it's not targeted because there's plenty of videos showing that it's not targeted. There's plenty of videos of them either intimidating people for legally observing them, or threatening arrest in some cases, or threatening to put them on a terrorist watch list for observing. There's lots of those videos, lots of stories about people being stopped, pulled over, windows broken, pulled out of their cars, who are American citizens. And that's primarily who I'm concerned about, is infringing on the rights of American citizens. Being an American citizen myself, who cares about my rights? So it seems like Trump is going to back down, actually, which is necessary because everybody hates ICE now. Independents in particular want to abolish ICE now, all because of the incompetence of the way it's been handled. Now, Trump, through incompetence, has made it so that his most popular issue, what he was elected for, is now not popular. Most Republicans still support him. Most Republicans still support ICE, but most independents don't. And actually, you need independents to win elections. And I care, although people accuse me of being a liberal or a Democrat, I actually want Republicans to win still because I know Democrats are bad in a lot of ways. But that doesn't mean they're terminally bad, and that doesn't mean that they're my enemy, because people change sides, especially young people. People change sides. People change their views based on what they see. So a classical liberal can be a conservative. I voted for Trump. I voted all Republican because mostly I care about economics and small government and free markets, which Democrats don't, and they say they don't. So mostly that's why I vote Republican. I also I think the open border was bad, and Trump did a good job closing the open border. And actually, Trump is sometimes the voice of reason, like he appears like he's going to be in this case by sidelining Kristi Noem and sidelining Greg Bovino, who seems insane, actually. So those are good things. Trump doesn't like to see people getting killed. He's proven that over and over again. And I don't think he's happy about this guy getting killed. I don't think Trump is happy about it based on his statements. So But I will, if I vote again. I was inclined after this event to say I'm never voting again because I didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for executing Americans, then calling them terrorists. I didn't vote for that. So it made me disinclined from ever voting again. And then the Republicans passed a huge spending bill, which still allows for transing kids, I'm not sure what I'm voting for when the government is always terrible, but I'm more concerned about Democrats taking power. And so I'd like to have a competent government that's not sadistic, that's not just totally sadistic, and it doesn't just use the it doesn't use lawfare to go. Trump was supposed to stop lawfare, and now he's using lawfare. He's just using the law, controlling the government. Not the FBI is not independent. There's like no illusion of independence anymore between the Justice Department and the presidency, which I think there should be. That's totally gone. Trump was supposed to stop that, weaponizing the DOJ against your political enemies. That's obviously what he does. Rather than investigate the shooting of Renee Good, which also to me seemed like it should be investigated, he investigated Walls and Fry for apparently fomenting revolution. It's not really clear they did that. Walls told people to peacefully protest, which I can see why people protest ICE. I can just see why they do it. Whether there's some paid agitators or not, I can see why they do it. So, and a bunch of people turned out the other day peacefully in the streets of Minneapolis at like 10 below temperatures. It was like hundreds of thousands of people turned out. They don't want ICE there. And I think maybe they're going to leave now. Here's Secretary Noem saying that the guy was a threat to law enforcement. Just more lies. If you're tired of it, I understand, but I have the clips queued up. But just more lies.
You just made claims that the individual posed a threat to law enforcement.
That is no claim. It is the facts. The facts of this situation. This individual showed up to a law enforcement operation with a weapon and dozens of rounds of ammunition. He wasn't there to peacefully protest. He was there to perpetuate violence. And he was asked to show up and to continue to resist by a governor who's irresponsible and has a long history of corruption and lying. And we won't stand for it anymore. These law enforcement officers take an oath. They get up every single day and they go out to protect the public. Many of these individuals live in their communities. And this mayor and this governor have doxed them. They have allowed people to threaten them and their families and expose their identities in order to instill fear and violence. And that's not what America is about.
You just made.
There you go. So that was her saying that he was violent because he showed up with a weapon. That's a fact. She was a threat to law enforcement because he showed up with a weapon. A United States attorney in California said, if you approach law enforcement with a gun, there is a high likelihood they will be legally justified in shooting you. Don't do it, which is false. They would not be legally justified in shooting you if you approach them with a gun. And Gun Owners of America came out and said that that was a terrible thing to say. So Gun Owners of America, so you managed to piss off a lot of people. The government did this weekend. They pissed off the NRA. They pissed off Gun Owners of America. The Libertarian Party actually, as an official policy, wants to abolish ICE. Here's Bovino talking about it, saying it was good they put him down before he could kill officers.
Well, you said yesterday that this looks like a situation where the individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. What evidence do you have that he wanted to massacre law enforcement? Because all the videos that we have, and I do want to, we just have a still shot up now, but I do, Control Room, want to play one of the other videos. Let's play video number 1 again. It doesn't look anything like he's trying to massacre law enforcement. In fact, he was filming, and then it looked like he was trying to help another individual there who was pushed down by law enforcement, and then they went after him.
In fact, I believe that the fantastic training that our law enforcement partners have, the fact that they're highly trained, prevented any specific shootings of law enforcement. So good job for our law enforcement in taking him down before he was able to do that. And again, Dana, let's look at why he was there in the first place. Was he simply walking by and just happened to walk into a law enforcement situation and try to direct traffic and stand in the middle of the road and then assault, delay, and obstruct law enforcement? Or was
Okay, well, he didn't do any, he didn't assault them or obstruct them. And then here it is again.
There's no evidence that he was perpetrating violence. And there's no evidence, unless you have it, and we'd love to see it if there is, that he was intending to massacre law enforcement, other than the fact that he was there and he had a gun lawfully.
He meant to be there beforehand. Again, Dana, he came there beforehand.
How do you know that?
A reason.
How do you know that?
Because he was there.
But all he was doing was filming and documenting it, which is legal. He was carrying a gun, which in Minneapolis is legal.
I didn't say it wasn't. And I didn't say it wasn't legal.
So then what did he do that was illegal?
Assault federal law enforcement when he does that. That's an active law enforcement crime scene.
Where do you see in the video that he was
decided to enter into?
Where do you see in the video that he was assaulting law enforcement? Because from everything we have seen, law enforcement was assaulting him when he was there trying to help another individual.
Dana, law enforcement doesn't assault anyone. Follow directions of law enforcement.
Law enforcement doesn't assault anyone.
Crime scene. It's very evident he didn't want to do that. Very evident that the other individuals didn't want to do that. And you know, it's too bad the consequences had to be paid because he injected himself into that crime scene. I can't say that enough. He made the decision to go there. We didn't make the decision to talk to him. We didn't even know that individual was in existence until he came into that crime scene.
I want to go back to
law enforcement never assaults anyone. He also called the Border Patrol agents the victims. And he said it was good they put him down before he could cause more damage. So anyway, I have a report, but I don't know. This guy, Dominic Michael Trippi, I don't know if he is reliable, but he says Greg Bovino has reportedly been relieved of duty of U.S. Border Patrol. Like I said, Border Patrol has been the more aggressive, more violent crew than ICE. And apparently ICE was established after 9/11. So to the extent that it didn't exist before, that's interesting to me. I'm against kind of like militarized police in general, but I'm not necessarily saying to abolish ICE. They just need to do their job legally. That's the only thing I'm for. They just need to legally do their job. No warrantless break-ins, no Fourth Amendment violations. Those are the things that they have to stop if this thing is going to turn around. Otherwise, it's just, Donald Trump is just going to, the Republicans are just going to lose very, very badly. Maybe even the Senate at this pace. So Trump is saying nice things, though. Okay, so here's what is happening now. Donald Trump is saying nice things about Tim Walz and Jacob Frey. So he said, Governor Tim Walz called me with a request to work together with respect to Minnesota. It was a very good call. And we actually seem to be on a similar wavelength. I told Governor Walz that I would have Tom Homan call him and that we are looking for any and all criminals that they have in their possession. The governor very respectfully understood that, and I will be speaking to him in the near future. He was happy that Tom Homan was going to Minnesota, and so am I. So that's the latest from Donald Trump today. And then the very latest, he said, I had a very good telephone conversation with Mayor Jacob Fry of Minneapolis. Lots of progress is being made. Tom Homan will be meeting with him tomorrow in order to continue the discussion. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And he also said in another Truth Social post that Tom Homan will be directly reporting to him, not Kristi Noem. So we might have a shakeup coming to try to fix this situation, which has just turned very bad according to Donald Trump's private polls and all of the other known polls. It's just turned very bad. Everybody, every single thing about the enforcement has turned negative, and it's just going down faster and faster. And this latest thing, obviously, is very upsetting to people, even people on his own side. Now he's being called out by Republicans in the Senate who aren't always opposed to Donald Trump. So if you want to support the show, I forgot to grift. If you want to support the show, you can drop a super chat by buying virtual coffees at buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. You can leave coffees and a note, and I will read that before the end of every show. And you can do that anytime, even after the show is over. If you're watching the replay, I still appreciate it anytime by going to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. You can also buy t-shirts by going to Truth Revolution Clothing. That's truthclothing.io, where we have these wonderful designs. We have our propaganda baseball tee, which has the news networks, Truth Matters, which still does, Question Everything. Shirts are still on sale. Everything's on sale for mostly $5 and $10. You can get your Bitcoin shirts, your TR logo tee. They're all high quality male and female designs. We have a lot of female styles of Question Everything in many colors, which are really nice shirts, stylish and high quality, screen printed. They last through many, many washes. I wear mine every day. I'm wearing one today. My Truth Revolution Clothing shirts. So check those out at truthclothing.io. Get them. They're on closeout, going out of business sale, $5 and $10 shirts until we are sold out. So go there while you can, and you can still get your size. All right, so that's that. I can look at the chat. It seems like there's a little argument in the chat, but that's fine. That's good. I'm on a particular side. If I'm not going to take a stand for certain things, it's just not worth it to broadcast. Many times I am wishy-washy and fence straddling. On this particular issue, I believe it is very clear that the citizen was not doing anything wrong. He is not doing anything that I would not have done if I were in his position. He did not appear to be interfering. He did not appear to threaten. He did not even appear to resist. He was just assaulted. First, a woman was assaulted. Then he tried to protect her. Then he was bear sprayed, just straight in his face. And then they tackled him, started maybe pistol whipping him in the face. If trying to protect yourself is resisting, then that is the only way I could say that he was resisting. He had his hands over his head like this without any weapon in them. He was clearly disarmed. If a shot went off from his gun accidentally, that is super unfortunate, but is still not a reason to mag dump on him like they did. They shot 10 times. It may have been the same officer who shot him 10 times in the back while unarmed. after being disarmed, as a matter of fact. So I put the blame squarely on law enforcement. I assume that what they did was unlawful and that they should at least be relieved of duty, which they haven't been. They were reassigned to other locations. But it seems a very clear-cut case of government-sanctioned violence that was escalated and initiated by the government and was carried out by the government unlawfully, violating civil rights. So that's my position on it. It seems very clear in this case. Not as clear in the case of Renee Good, but also the case of Renee Good should have been investigated by local authorities and is, as we have been told, not being investigated at all by the government because they made a predetermined decision in that case as well, which was not a clear-cut case of self-defense either. But so it could be that that pistol discharged, as W. Birkin is saying. And they did say gun, 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 and etc. They may have been confused, but with proper training, they should not have killed the guy. That's all. Okay. So Kanye West put out a full page ad in the Wall Street Journal to apologize. And I'm just going to comment on that because I am also bipolar. And many people who have followed my show have witnessed my bipolar episodes, and they can be extremely destructive to your life. So I can relate with what he's saying, although I really appreciate the song Heil Hitler, which I think is a great artistic expression and has a real meaning to it, in the sense that it's anti-establishment, in the sense that it's anti-establishment. I mean, I think it's, and I support free speech. And I don't think that that song should have been banned off of all platforms. And I don't think that Nick Fuentes and crew should have been banned from Miami for playing that song, which is actually a catchy song. But apparently he wrote it while he was having a bipolar episode, which once again, I can relate to because it is an extremely destructive disease. Is it a disease? I'm not sure. But he ran a full page ad explaining his descent into madness and explaining how it ruined his life and explaining why he is now apologizing for anti-Semitism, for embracing the swastika, says he loves Jews, etc. But it doesn't mean he was wrong about everything. Doesn't mean he was wrong about everything, in my opinion. But I can testify that, well, for example, because of my bipolar episode early last year, I ended up having to sell all my silver, which I'm very, very upset about, particularly on days like today when I saw it go up 15%. I've reestablished a little silver position, and I accidentally didn't sell 3 silver eagles, which I still have, which are worth something. But I can relate to what Kanye West is saying, and I can understand what he went through. He says he lost touch with reality, so I can say that. So, and it's also why I can relate to people who don't act right all the time around law enforcement, like schizophrenics who sometimes get killed by law enforcement because they're crazy, and I think sometimes unjustifiably killed by law enforcement because they're not thinking straight. That's all. So Kanye West, we support you. I always like Kanye West. He's very insightful in many, many ways. His music hasn't been that great recently, but Hopefully it will get better. We pray for his recovery, and we pray that his music is awesome again, like it used to be all the time. All right. So there's that. All right. Let's talk about how Donald Trump is wielded. So everyone is afraid to criticize Trump because he wields the government to destroy you if you disagree with him or if he doesn't like you. If I was going to vote for president this coming time, I would certainly be happy to see Thomas Massie or Marjorie Taylor Greene, who seem to be principled conservatives. In the case of Thomas Massie, a principled libertarian. I would certainly prefer to have the opportunity to vote for one of those individuals, even though Marjorie Taylor Greene is no genius. I don't really respect her intelligence 100%, but I respect that she takes a principled stand on things and is not afraid to criticize the 500 or 800 pound gorilla that is Donald Trump and his vindictive administration, extremely vindictive administration. So here's Thomas Massie talking about who is, it looks like, going to win, even though he has the full power of the state being wielded against him. So here he was on Jimmy Dore explaining what's happening to him because he dares to criticize Donald Trump and because he dared to try to have the Epstein files come out. The Epstein files, which was the original reason many conservatives turned on Trump, and we have forgotten about because of the distractions of Venezuela, ICE, and now possibly Iran. So here's Thomas Massie talking about what it means to have the government working against you.
Let me describe some of the other things they do that you don't see. 3 of my consultants have quit, like on my campaign, and all 3 for the same reason. And I don't blame them. I'm not even mad at them. If I were in their shoes, I'd probably quit too. They were told that your other 3 clients will fire you, or sorry, your other 30 clients will fire you if you keep working for Massie. And so they make it hard to basically to hire the people. Then and for everyone that quit, okay, you go out and you interview 10 people to replace them, and they all tell you the same thing: I can't work for you, or I'll lose all my other clients. So it's like it's a mafia in the consultant world. By the way, I really love the consultants I got now because they're the ones who said, screw you. I'm going to work for Massie because I believe in what he's doing and I'm good enough at my job. I'll go find some other clients if your clowns fire me. Okay. So good for them. The other thing they do is, so, I told you I may have told you this, maybe I didn't. I've got 15,000 donors across the United States. My average donation is $80. Is that because I don't want millionaires to give to a super PAC and to help me? No, hell no. I'll take all the help I can get. The problem is if you've reached some degree of success where you have a $1 million disposable income, you probably can't afford to tick off this administration, or they will come at your business. And I'm not talking about IRS audits. Like it's bigger than that. You won't get the permits you need to do the business. You're foreign when you try to do business overseas, that'll get interfered with. So they can't intimidate my $80 donors, right? There's too many of them. But there are, and really over the MAGA split and on foreign policy, there are people of great means. I'm talking about extraordinary means who could put money in my race and post up against the Israel First billionaires. But they're staying on the sidelines because their business will get ruined. They won't be invited to the parties, the A-list parties, and all that goes away. So that's another part of what happens behind the scenes. there are things that you can't see, and I could see that happening in the presidential race as well.
There you go. So that's Thomas Massey talking about it. It's true. For example, the government is obviously threatening news organizations. They threatened ABC right over Jimmy Kimmel to say that the FCC would go after them. And then they endorsed the takeover of TikTok by Larry Ellison. Apparently, TikTok is being ruined as we speak because it has been transferred into American control completely. And Larry Ellison is a largest private donor to the IDF. And apparently they're banning or they're suppressing people. A lot of the people are Democrats who are being suppressed. But words like Epstein, I'm seeing, are being banned on TikTok. And that's all because of Donald Trump's favoritism of Larry Ellison taking over organizations like TikTok and CBS. So that's why you see Barry Weiss in charge of CBS, who's a huge Zionist, Larry Ellison, who's a committed Zionist. And apparently now TikTok is being censored now that the Chinese have given up control of it. So, and that all has to do with people you just have to kiss the ring. That's all. I mean, we have an administration where you literally must praise the president or suffer the consequences. And Donald Trump has profited from it, from his payouts, from organizations that he sued because they want to have the favor of the government. And that's not the kind of government we want to live under. All right. So I talked about gold and silver. Let's see. Should we talk about that a little bit today? Let's see. Markets, commodities. I can show you what happened to silver today. Silver is back up, actually. It's back up again at 110. So it's a very short reversal so far. Silver's still at 110. But it's a very volatile market. A lot of people are talking about what I talked about because I sold my silver, which I greatly regret, but was, like I said, because of a mental condition, I just maxed out my credit cards when I shouldn't have and had to pay it off my debt. So it seemed like the sensible decision at the time. But this was what happened to silver today. Let's see if I'm showing you yes, I am showing you the chart. It went way up and then way down, and now it's going back up again very quickly. So there's nothing wrong with buying it. But people are reporting how hard it is to sell, which is what I reported on too. Because when I sold it, I got taken advantage of, but not because I didn't even do research or anything. It's just because of what happens. When you buy physical silver, you are going to pay over spot. And when you sell it, especially when it's pumping, they will hit you way back of spot. So you might lose 20% on a transaction for physical silver. And then if you have to declare taxes, you also get taxed as if it's a collectible. Now, you don't have to pay taxes. If you don't sell $10,000 worth, you have to pay taxes, but good luck catching you if you sell less than $10,000 worth in person for cash, because unless you sell over $10,000 at a time, it is not reported to anyone. And you can also pay with cash, which as long as it's less than $10,000 at a time, it is not reported to anyone. You'll have to, in California, you have to write down your name, a name. You have to write down a name and maybe a phone number or something, but that's simply to give you a receipt. So it is, but gold eventually will be more than $10,000 per ounce. And so for me, I sold now all of my Bitcoin and have virtual gold instead. So that's where I'm at. Take for that what you will. But some silver too in the form of SLV, which I know people will say not to buy, but at least you get to buy and sell it for the same price rather than that 20% difference you might get hit with. And just the people that are reporting the worst, if you're going to buy silver, just be aware American Eagles are the most readily exchanged. So when the price goes up, lots of people want to sell at the same times, and sometimes the dealers will only take the best silver, which is always going to be American Eagles. So American Eagles will always be the best. American money is good. Junk silver, they call it junk silver, which is old American money, which used to be silver. But even that you can get hit. That's what I kind of got screwed on when I sold back when it was $36 spot. American Eagles, I got much closer to spot on, but don't be like me. Don't sell your silver. Don't sell it. Just don't sell it. It's going to be volatile. It could be volatile. It was extremely volatile today, but we are undergoing a reset of the entire global financial system right now, which will transition to probably money that is more closely related to gold and maybe silver. I wish I had more silver. I wish I had all the silver that I sold, of course, but shit happens, as they say. But there's silver. It's still pumping already tonight. It's already up back to $110 an ounce. So, and it's still only a 50-to-1 ratio to gold. Some people are saying it's going to go up to $666. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible. But you can also buy SLV, which I think will still exist. You can also buy SLV and PSLV on Robinhood. It's a lot easier to do, and it's a lot easier to sell. But when you sell it, 28% collectible tax, which is kind of messed up. Even for owning SLV, apparently you get hit with a 28% capital gains tax, which is messed up. Which, if you do physical, you must declare it, but they don't have any record. They would have no way for you to know that you ever owned it or ever sold it if you pay cash. And in California, if you buy, I think you have to buy $2,000 worth of silver or gold in cash, and then you don't have to pay sales tax, which is, certainly ideal. And you don't have to pay sales tax if you buy SLV or PSLV. But physical gold, physical silver is good, but just be aware that when you selling it can be problematic. A lot of people are reporting on how much difficulty they're having selling their silver now that the price has gone up so much that they're getting hit 10, 15, 30% back, depending on what kind of silver they have, particularly things like 100-ounce bars or 10-ounce bars or whatever. If you want to have it, just American Eagles, you pay extra for them, but they're always the best. They're always the best. They're most in demand, the easiest to transact with. That's all. So if I was going to give you advice for buying silver, don't buy Buffalo rounds or silver rounds or whatever. You can buy foreign money, maple leaves, etc. But those still aren't as well respected as American money, American Eagles. And if you want American junk silver too, which is just pre-1965 dimes, quarters, and half dollars. And then out of those, half dollars are the best. Out of dimes, quarters, and half half dollars are the most easy to move, and you'll get more for those than dimes or quarters. So just from my experience. So, all right. Speaking of, we're at the end of a debt cycle, which will, and I shorted the banks today. That's what I did. I shorted the banks, the regional banks. I shorted KRE on Robinhood by buying puts out of the money. After consulting with Gemini a little bit about it, but I am short banks because I'm anticipating some kind of financial crisis, possibly within the next 3 months or so. So I'm short American regional banks today, as of today. This is just a chart showing that credit, I anticipate credit being a problem. That's all. I anticipate credit being a problem. U.S. Treasuries, car loans, credit card loans. Our whole system is built on debt, which is a shaky foundation. And in every credit cycle, when credit dries up, then the economy crashes. And that is because of fractional reserve banking and everything else. But this is just a chart showing you that auto loan applications are being rejected. Because I lived through 2008. I was in the car industry. I was selling cars. And I saw what happened to credit, where everybody got a loan one day. And then the next day, nobody got a loan. And loans and credit make everything go round these days. And I saw credit dry up during the 2008 crisis. I don't expect this crisis to be any different. Real estate is about to crash. I think the stock market could also. Some people are saying the stock market's going to go parabolic. But I have bought insurance on a crash personally. That's where I'm at. The White House says that we're capable of manipulating time and space. Just wanted to share that with you guys. Why did I sell all my Bitcoin? Because I bought Bitcoin for the situation that's happening right now, what it was designed for, to be a safe haven asset. And Bitcoin is not acting like a safe haven asset, particularly last year. 2025 was the fourth year in the cycle, which is when Bitcoin should have gone to the moon, which is why I sold my silver and kept my crypto for the most part. Then I was very disappointed that Bitcoin did not behave the way it was designed to behave, which is for situations like last year and this year when printing is going like crazy, the economy is booming, supposedly. Things are starting to fall apart. Bitcoin is not acting like a safe haven asset, and I need a safe haven asset. I need to, at the least, protect what I have because I have very little. And in a crash situation, Bitcoin has shown that it crashes with stocks. It follows the stock market. And I'm not interested in being invested in the stock market. So that's why I sold finally all of my Bitcoin and put it into PAX-G, which is audited gold, crypto gold, which you can hold in your own wallet and transfer the same way as Bitcoin. It's on the Ethereum blockchain. It's audited. You can check to see what serial number gold it's assigned to. And for my purposes, gold is doing what I would expect it to do in times like this, is like approaching a crisis. So gold behaved more like Bitcoin should have behaved. And I'm worried about the Ponzi scheme being run by Michael Saylor. Actually, one reason is because Michael Saylor is running a Ponzi scheme, and I think I will wait until his Ponzi scheme collapses before buying Bitcoin again. It could be good again. I'm afraid people have shown a preference for real assets rather than digital assets. Central banks aren't buying Bitcoin, they're buying gold. Central banks are buying gold, and I want to do what central banks do. But yeah, I just can't afford to lose 80%, even over a short period of time. Over the long term, I think Bitcoin will probably be okay, but people seem to not be liking it the way they should. So, and tokenized assets, which is like you can get tokenized gold now, and you'll be able to get tokenized real estate. And I think maybe rich people and governments would prefer that over tokenized nothing, which is what Bitcoin is. Tokenized math, tokenized tokens, which is what Bitcoin and crypto is. So I've shifted my views on it quite a bit. You can see I sell Bitcoin t-shirts, and I want to keep selling them. But I'm concerned in a crisis situation that Bitcoin will crash because people don't view it as a safe haven asset. That's all. I want a safe haven asset. I want a safe haven asset. And people think of Bitcoin as a risk asset. I don't want risk assets. I want safe assets. That's where my head is at. So that's describing my decision. But I always said to buy silver. It's all for the same reason. I would buy Bitcoin if it, and I plan to, I think, buy it again, but just at a much lower price, I think. So anyway, that's that. Here's central banks. I like to follow what central banks are doing. Central banks hold more gold in than U.S. Treasuries now. I think people, I see that central banks are also because the U.S. government is unreliable. We run huge deficits, and people don't want our treasuries anymore. And people are selling our treasuries for gold, not Bitcoin. So I want to have gold. I think we're undergoing a monetary reset back to gold, maybe silver. So it's a good question, Pyro Justin. It's a debate I'd like to have. It's a debate I had to have in my head. Tokenized gold is not a safe haven. It's possible. It's possible. I might be wrong. So I'm just describing my decision making. Bitcoin is not acting like a safe haven. It's supposed to. I'm disappointed in its performance. I'm just disappointed. You want to see what Bitcoin's doing? Let's see. Bitcoin, US dollar. It's at 88.7 still. It's still not doing anything. 88.75 still. So it's going up a little bit right now. So that's good. I might be wrong. I could be wrong, and I'll have to be okay with that. I was wrong when I sold my silver. Maybe I'll be wrong when I sold my Bitcoin. But I'm concerned about a financial crisis, in which case every time there's a crisis, Bitcoin crashes. During COVID, Bitcoin crashed. Silver crashed too, and gold. Everything crashed during COVID. If that happens again, then Bitcoin, I think, will crash a lot. And Michael Saylor will get liquidated, which is bad. But we'll see what happens. We'll see. I know I can see people, there are different opinions in the chat. I'm not worried about an EMP. I am maybe a little worried about quantum, because some people are concerned about quantum with Bitcoin, which is that quantum computers will crack your seed phrase. That's a possible concern. But actually, that would be a problem with tokenized gold too, because that's protected by a seed phrase too. So either way, I'm not safe. be safer for me to have physical, and maybe I will get physical. Not sure. Right now I have digital. Maybe eventually I'll get physical. I don't know. Not sure. Not sure. I can't predict the future. I've been right directionally on a lot of things so far. But I made a lot of mistakes along the way too. So I have no idea what's going to happen. I can't predict the future, but I tell you what I do. And I tell you what I do, so you know. And if you had followed me the whole time, you'd be doing really well. If you'd followed what I said rather than what I did, you'd have silver, you'd have Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is still a lot higher than when I said to start buying it. And silver is certainly a lot higher than when I said to start buying it, which was probably under $20. I definitely said to buy silver after COVID when it went down to $12. I said to buy it like crazy, and I did actually. So, but all I can tell you is what I'm doing. You have to decide what to do. I think Bitcoin theoretically is the best. Theoretically is the best. I'm just disappointed with what it's been doing. I need something safer than Bitcoin if we have a crisis. That's all. Let me check my coffees. I appreciate people who support the show. I do drink coffee and eat cookies. So if you give me coffee, it becomes coffee. Let's check. Someone bought 3 coffees. I think that's new. I think that's new-ish. So I think maybe that's 3 coffee. Let me see when that was. I have no idea. It doesn't say when, but I did get 3 coffees that I wasn't aware of, I think. So thank you for that. Someone, you can always support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil or buying t-shirts at truthclothing.io. You can also become a monthly supporter at buymeacoffee.com for $5, $7, or $50 a month. It's up to you. You can also become a supporter at Substack, where I post the podcast at lifttheveil.substack.com. You can also send Cash App, which is a more direct form of coffee, by going to Cash App $LTV411. That's the best. They don't take anything and it's instantaneous. And I'll respond to it with a heart emoji. $LTV411. And there is a podcast which gets posted after the show. You can find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts by searching for Lift the Veil. And it's also on Substack, where I said lifttheveil.substack.com. All right. So that's where we're at. You guys ready? Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you guys. And let's see what happens in the news the next few days. For now, that's what it is.